Bears versus the Lions. This is the Barely Pregame Show. I'm your host, Michael Halatek, along with my co-host, Ivan Vargas. Ivan, good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
We have to talk about yet another devastating loss, don't we?
Yeah, and to be honest, it needs to be focused on, at least for a little while. At least for a little bit today in today's show, because it was from a lot of people, from a lot of fans, people that I know, people that we know. It was what I got was probably one of the worst losses the Bears have ever taken from any team, let alone the Green Bay Packers. And for me, it was just flat out embarrassing. Like you can't put it any other way. I know some people are defending them and saying that the team didn't show a lack of effort, but that's not what I saw out there. And I don't know if they're going to continue that lack of effort throughout the rest of the season, or they just got caught flat. I don't know. But the defense mainly was the reason why the Bears took it on the chin, and it's hard to really pick on the defense, but if anything, if there was one game that they were going to take a tongue lashing, it was that game, because there was just the tackling wasn't there, the effort wasn't there, the aggression wasn't there. They just seemed like they were flat from the start, and it just continued on through the rest of the game.
On our other show that we do on Wednesdays, John Buffone, the nephew of legendary Bears linebacker Doug Buffone, he came on and he said, guys, they have to play hard, and when you have one of the most respected coaches, retired coaches in all of the NFL saying on national television that it looked like your defense quit on you, Matt Nagy, that's a problem. That's a huge freaking problem. So let's go back to the beginning of the game. Mm-hmm. Why we defer to give the ball to the Packers, I have no idea, because the Packers have scored, I think, on every single first possession of the year, save for one. And they just went straight down the field. And the Bears defense all season long has given up, for the most part, a lot of yards on the first possession, other than maybe the Carolina game.
Maybe they wanted to just get it. Maybe they wanted to get it out of the way, Mike. You know what I mean? Maybe they just wanted to get that first one out of the way and focus on the next.
The last thing the Bears need to do is get the ball more often in the third quarter, because they've just been terrible in the third quarter. And that's their line of thinking. Let's get the ball in the second half, and if we can score towards the end of the first half. We get the first possession in the second half, and yada yada yada. The Bears have done nothing. They have scored one offensive touchdown in the third quarter. So the Bears fall behind immediately, 7-0. Trubisky looked pretty damn good. He had the help of a 57-yard run from David Montgomery, the longest of his career. But then Cole Kmet drops a pass that surely would have been a touchdown. Allen Robinson missed yet another 50-50 ball. The defender played him tough, but Kmet's pass drop was just indefensible. So instead of a tie game, 7-7, it's 7-3. Green Bay gets the ball back, and boom, right downfield again for a touchdown. And before you know it, it's 27-10 at the end of the first half. The Bears did score late in the first half, so they got their dream. They didn't expect to be down by 17 points going into the second half. And here's what they did. They got 10 yards on their first play, on the very first play in the third quarter. Then they got nothing. Mm-hmm. So they went 3 and out after the first down of the second half. They get the ball again. They go 3 and out. They get the ball again. They go 3 and out. And before you know it, it's 41-10. And then the Bears scored 2 late touchdowns to make the final score what it was. Ironically, Detroit lost by the exact same score on Thanksgiving Day, so that'll be interesting to see what happens today. But, there was one glimmer of hope in this game, in that over the last 5 games, the Bears have played 5 different offensive line combinations. And they seem to find one that actually works.
Mm-hmm.
The Bears offensive line played pretty damn well. I don't have the stats in front of me, so I don't know how many sacks that Trubisky ended up taking. The sad part was on defense, 0 pressures on Favre, 0 sacks on Favre. That means no pressures from Mack, no pressures from Quinn. Half the time, Quinn was playing in coverage. What the hell are they thinking?
Yeah, and that kills me. And Mike, I don't know if you still have Brett Favre on the mind, but you mentioned him twice, and he's not even on the field yet. Or he's not even on the field anymore. But I mean,
Favre? I'm sorry. We don't know I meant Rodgers.
Yeah, I know, but he might as well be wearing number 4. You know what I mean? Like it's the same. We've seen this story once before, and it's give him credit. He's the best. Like he's the best quarterback that's not Tom Brady, and it's been hard. The thing is that the Bears can't make mistakes, and I felt like they made mistakes once again in their play calling. The interception that Mitch threw, the Packers are ready for that. They know that Darnell Mooney can beat you on an inside go route with one move. He could beat you with one move. Darnell is that good of a route runner that he could do that. So they kept the safety over the top, and they told him to stay home. Stay home, because they knew that was coming. And then you saw Mitch commit immediately to it. There was no progression. He locked eyes with Darnell after the bad play action, and he threw an interception right to the safety. And with that, you can't have that, because I felt like the Bears had some rhythm running the football. I felt like the Bears were hitting on some plays early that the quick outs. Where were the slants for the majority of the game? Where was the quick 1, 2, 3, boom, get the ball out for Mitch? I just felt like right then and there, it went back to Matt Nagy. I got to make a show. I got to make a splash. I have to go ahead and prove myself with the big play. Prove that I'm the genius with the big play. Be simple with this this offense. Be simple with this quarterback. It will benefit you better. It'll complement the defense more if you could run the ball, protect the football, and stop trying to be the offense that you're not. You're not the Kansas City Chiefs. You don't have the pass protection or the skill personnel to do it. So you have to become the Chicago Bears. And who is that? I don't know.
We don't know who this team is. The 5-1 winning ugly. They seem to go, hey, we're winning. At least we're winning. We're 5-1 instead of 1-5. Imagine being 1-5 and then rolling off 5 consecutive losses. Nagy'd be out of a job by now. But it's just a disgrace to see this team fall as far as they have. Every Bear fan hoped and prayed that this offense finally would get it right this year. That's Nagy's 3rd year in the system. Okay, so COVID took away all of the camps. They took away all the practice sessions. But even still, all the virtual meetings and everything else that all the other teams did in the offseason in this era of COVID, nothing panned out. Nothing panned out. And they pulled the trigger on Trubisky 2.5 games into the season. Foles came on like a house of fire against Atlanta in the 4th quarter. And we're thinking, okay, this is the offense that we're now going to see. And I was cautiously optimistic, and this offense has actually performed worse with Foles under center than it had with Trubisky under center for the last year and a half. And
I just feel like like I said, we're beating a dead horse. It's the play calling. Beating a dead horse, it's a play calling. You saw, weirdly enough, you saw rollouts, you saw RPO reads, you saw things that a quarterback like Mitch, a mobile quarterback, an athletic quarterback, should be running. Not your pocket, your true pocket passer who has cement feet. He should be moving. We saw Nick Foles multiple times where there was nobody in front of him for maybe 10, 15 yards. and he's second guessing running the ball. The linebackers might as well turn their back to him because they know he's not going to run. So for me, you have a guy in Matt Nagy who went ahead and catered the offense to the style of Mitch for the quarterback that wasn't Mitch Trubisky. So for it just needs to be a simplified, dumbed down type of an offense. I hate to put it that way, but it really does. Run the football, and when you can pass the football, make sure you get it out quickly to your playmakers. It's crazy to think that going into that game against Atlanta, we were expecting Mitch to light it up. I was, at least. I was expecting Mitch to light it up. I was expecting that offense to take off, and then they didn't. And then all of a sudden you see this comeback that was very similar to the comeback that we saw Mitch lead in the first game. My point is they pulled the gun quickly. They pulled the gun way too quick. Although Nick Foles did what he did in Philly, you don't have any of the assets that Philly had when they won the Super Bowl. That offensive line was all world when they won the Super Bowl. They could run the football, they could pass the football, and Nick had time in the pocket. And the defense was solid. The defense was very solid, similar to the Bears. But that is not what you have here. So what's the best case scenario for the Bears? You have to keep Mitch on the field because you saw how well that running. David Montgomery had 100 yards. Does anybody remember the last 100-yard running back? It probably was Montgomery, but when was the last time he did it?
It's been a long time. We come from an era of Bears running backs that, a 100-yard running game was commonplace.
Yes.
In Bears games. And our running back, and if you're going to sacrifice the running game in lieu of a passing game, have a passing game that works. But the Bears have failed in their pass game. Here's a stat. We talked about this on the Halitech Hall show Wednesday night. Eric Kramer, 1995. That's how long it's been since we've had a Bears quarterback that threw efficiently. Mm-hmm. And he only had 29 touchdown passes on the year. 29 touchdown passes is the record for most touchdown passes by a Bears quarterback in any one year. And quite simply, that's pathetic.
It can't happen anymore, Mike. Mike, you and we joked on how it's like, I joke with Drew. Mike has been to every Bears game you could think of. Mike's been there. You've seen it longer than I have, but I've seen it as well. It's time. Like, this is time. I'm 31 years old. Mike, you're older than I am, but at the same time, I've never seen a quarterback. And I was alive when Kramer did that, but that was, unfortunately,
you were 4 years old, so you don't remember.
Exactly. Unfortunately, that wasn't, that wasn't sustainable. It wasn't, it didn't turn into anything, which I'm sure everybody thought it would. But it's been too long. Cade McNown, we're talking about you drafting a quarterback, missing on a quarterback, and now we were stuck with choosing between Jim Miller and Shane Matthews for a few years. We've seen Jonathan Quinn. Name them all. Henry Burris. Just keep going down the line. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. You need to put somebody in position, even if you I dare I say it, even if you keep your GM, you need to marry him with somebody that knows what the hell they're doing with as far as the quarterback position. Or you need to go ahead and tell him to invite everybody in for an interview. When your franchise has never had a quarterback, you bring everybody you possibly can in to audition for it. Otherwise you're lacking at your job. You're doing yourself and your franchise a disservice, and you did that already once.
We've had so many mind-boggling decisions made by this organization over the past 35 years. Since they it's been probably 27 years since they let Ditka go.
Yes.
With the defensive coordinator of the year, Dave Wanstedt, and they brought in another defensive mind in Dick Geron. And I actually liked Dick Geron. He was a nice guy, but they had one good year in 2001, which was the last year of the old Soldier Field. They went 13-3, but got ousted in the playoffs by Carolina. They started off well, but injuries beset them in 2002, and before you knew it, Dick Duran was out the door. But they brought in Lovie Smith, and for Lovie Smith, again, another defensive-minded coach. But he developed a world-class defense. And, of course, the Bears decided to make some bad mistakes again at quarterback with the drafting of Kyle Orton and drafting of Rex Grossman. And that was just a debacle. They had a chance to win the Super Bowl that they made to in 2006. But they absolutely went away from what was working, which was their running game. Danielle Manning made a mistake playing one coverage when the other 10 guys were in a different coverage, which led to the first touchdown of the game after they got off to an immediate lead with Devin Hester's opening kickoff return for a touchdown. And that's the closest that they've been ever since. They made it to the 2010 NFC title game, which is the only NFC title game played at Soldier Field that I did not attend. I've been to the others. So here we are now, a full 10 years later, and we're how many head coaches now later? At least 3. And we're no closer to the playoffs than we were in 2011. The sad part is I don't remember if it was 2011 or 2012 when Jay Cutler was having a phenomenal year. Threw an interception late in the, I think it was the third quarter. They ended up winning the game, but they were playing the Chargers at Soldier Field. And Cutler, for all he was worth, he tried to make a tackle and he fell diving for a tackle, and he broke his freaking thumb and ended his season. And that ended all playoff hopes that Bears team had. And that Bears team probably, goes to the Super Bowl. Where they were playing. I don't know if you were young enough to remember, old enough to remember.
I remember that one because Matt Forte went down, I think, a week later with the knee.
Yeah, against Kansas City, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and I want to point out that they had their shot, like we said, drafting of Kyle Orton, Rex Grossman. They had their shot to go out and find a guy. Look at, and I'm talking about one guy in particular that after his Rams career went to the New York Giants and they didn't want him. And then, he's out here looking for a job, and I'm talking about a Super Bowl MVP and Kurt Warner, Hall of Famer. The Bears didn't want to take a look at him. He ends up going to the Cardinals and leads them to a Super Bowl.
There's a story behind that, though, Ivan.
Is there?
The Bears actually scheduled for him to come to Chicago to work him out, and something happened. He got sick or got ill or had some type of an injury, and then it never came to pass. And the rest is history. But they did actually invite him in for a workout.
Well, they should have signed him. They should have did everything they could to go ahead and sign a former. And I remember that the Bears were really, truly a quarterback away, just like we've been all my life, a quarterback away. It just seems like enough's enough. And although this season, I'm not going to pack it up, even though I think it's time to pack it up, I'm still going to root for them, as a fan at heart. I'm still going to root for them blindly, but I know the truth. I know the truth about this team right now. And right now, I'm the most optimistic about the offseason because, like I pointed out last week, there was nowhere to run out on that football field when you were getting your ass kicked by the Green Bay Packers. There was nowhere to run. The Mama Bear was up top. Ryan Pace is next to her. I think you had Michael and you had George right next to her. They all saw it. There's nowhere to run from this. So for me, going into this offseason, I'm really optimistic because they got to get it right. They have to get it right because you're losing fans. Why do you think a guy that was from Chicago, and I'm talking about a guy in Anthony Davis who plays for the Lakers, why do you think he's a Green Bay Packers fan? Because you're not putting a winning product on the football field. You're not putting a winning product for the younger generation to want to be a Bears fan. They'd rather go ahead and go up north and be fans of the team that's not even in the vicinity of where they live. They'd rather that than watch a team that continues to be mediocre.
Well, the tides hopefully will turn and turn soon. Earlier today, Pro Football Talk on Twitter just tweeted about an hour ago, actually a little bit of good news. And let me preface that by saying, if you follow us on the Halitech Hall Show on Wednesdays, we were talking about the cap. And we're talking about cap casualties. And guys like Fuller and Hicks and Mack were brought up, thinking that there's going to be some major slashing because of the cap. Well, Pro Football Talk just tweeted out that there's new TV contracts coming with the possibility of full stadiums. Thank you, virus or vaccine. There's a potential that the NFL will not reduce the salary cap next year. Many people were thinking it was going to drop from 195 to 175, which would just play havoc on the Bears salary cap situation. And either a lot of restructuring would have to happen or there'd be some cap casualties. So with most of the money being on the defensive side of the ball, hopefully we have just got the first inkling of some good news to keep that Bears, at least most of the Bears starting defense, intact.
Yeah, and there's a couple guys who obviously are going to have to, I think, and realistically will have to be moved. But for me, this last, going into this last stretch of games, last week is bad, and I'm willing to go ahead and look past it for defensive wise. Offensive wise, we can't see this shit anymore. Sorry, we can't see that anymore. Defense, it was the first time I was like, what the hell are we doing on defense? Where's the effort? Where's the push? Where's the fight? I will say this: I expect them to be. I expect somebody to be gone, but I expect them down the stretch to have the tenacity that we expected them to have last week. I don't think they get embarrassed again. Even in that last Packers game, I don't think they get embarrassed again. I just need to know who I'm keeping. Who are the guys that I could see out on the football? And we watch the games. We watch the replays. We know who's giving a damn and who's not. I want to know who that is, who those guys are on defense, because starting from right now, these are job auditions. These are auditions.
Yeah.
You have to show me some fight in order for us to keep your ass on the roster next year. And I can't put it any other way. You're fighting for a job spot right now. I would say that.
I have not seen the inactive list yet for today for the Bears, but I do have some good news. Both Allen Robinson, Khalil Mack, and Akeem Hicks are all active today. The Bears are facing a Lions team that is going to be without running back DeAndre Swift, wide receiver Kenny Golladay, and cornerback Jeff Okudah. So Matt Stafford apparently will be active today as well. So that's interesting. Hopefully we'll get the inactive list in just a minute. So while we're waiting for that, why don't we do this? Why don't we take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, Tick Splits, and then we'll get right back into it with our game day against the Lions.
I just heard my favorite band is in town. I'd love to get good seats, but everywhere I've looked, the ticket sites have crazy service fees.
Haven't you heard of Tick Splits?
Who?
Tick Splits. They don't gouge you with crazy fees. The price they advertise is the price you pay, plus a small delivery fee.
Never pay service fees again. Go to TIXBLITZ.com today. TickSplits.com. Guaranteed seats, low prices. That's TickSplits.com. Every ticket, every venue, everywhere.
We're talking Bears-Lions here on the Barely Pregame Show. The Bears did just release their inactive list. A couple of names that aren't on this list is Wims. Javon Wims is active. Riley Ridley is inactive. Travis Gibson is going to see his first action as a Bears on the defensive line today.
Wow. Travis Gibson.
Yep. Pierce. Artavis Pierce, Latavius Simmons, McCullers, the nose tackle, Riley Ridley, and James Waters. I knew Waters was not going to play today. He was ruled out earlier in the week. So some interesting things going on. We're going to get our first look at Travis Gibson, who I liked coming out of college when the Bears drafted him. So let's hope that he puts a little spark in the Bears pass rush today.
I hope so. It's this defense though does revolve around Akeem Hicks. Like he is a straw that stirs the drink when it comes to this defense because he demands a double team in the middle, and he allows Roquan and Danny Trevathan to be kind of roam free without any restriction. But I'm still looking for a Khalil Mack push. And I know he's been getting mauled, but I need to see an angry game. Like I want to see a very aggressive style game from Khalil Mack. No matter if he's getting to the quarterback or not, I need to see some aggression from him because he's like, if you want to say it or not, Khalil, you're the best player on the team. You're the best player on the team, maybe possibly, but you're definitely the best player on the defense. Give him some spark. If you don't want to lead by with the rah, give him a halftime speech. Lead by example. Lead by energy out on that field, and that's what I expect for Khalil Mack today to do. Other than that, Travis Gibson. Hey, why not? Like why not? We just spoke about I want to see the guys that are going to give us the effort. We haven't seen him all season long. Hopefully, he comes out and brings a spark.
Let's hope. Well, they're playing a team that they should be able to get healthy on. The Detroit Lions have consistently been the cellar dwellers of the NFC North for quite a while. The Bears have more victories against Detroit than any other team they've ever played. They already have 102 victories against them. They've only lost 74 times. There's been 5 ties. The Bears have won the last 5 games. And then, back in a little bit of our history corner here is from 1984 to 1989, back in the Ditka years. We tend to long for those Ditka years. They beat the Lions 10 straight times. So it's time to get if you're going to get healthy for the rest of this year, the time to do it is now. The Lions are 4-7. The Bears are 5-6. So if the Bears lose to the Lions today, they actually fall into the cellar where just 5 weeks ago, when they were 5-1, all they had to do was beat the Rams, and they would have been the number 1 team in the NFC with home field advantage in a bye week going into the playoffs, assuming they keep the playoffs scenario at 7 teams per conference. So that's what they're up against. Our keys to the game. This is going to be what it is for the Bears that's going to bode for the rest of the season. But the Bears, my number 1 key for the Bears is play angry. They have to play angry today. They have to play like a pissed off team, and they have to take it out on the Detroit Lions, both offensively, defensively, and special teams.
Mike, real quick, and with that being said, when I was playing, you knew a game where you were gonna potentially beat down a team, and sometimes those games, they're kind of like a bridge game. They're kind of like a get right game. You correct some things, you get some confidence back, you beat down the opponent. This is a get right game. If the Bears want to get right, they need to go ahead out here and just like you said, play angry. Go out there wanting to embarrass the Detroit Lions in all facets. That has to be the mentality going on throughout, because if you expect to make the playoffs, if you expect to scratch that, it starts with today. And it starts with the attitude you bring out on the football field and how you handle how you handle your game plan.
Absolutely. Second key to today's game is dominate. This just goes hand in hand with the first key. They just have to dominate a Lions team that has played poorly for decades. When was the last time a Detroit Lions team won the playoffs? It's been forever.
Was it in the 90s?
Yeah. So, they have to dominate this game to really restore. This is an old cliche, but restore the roar at Soldier Field.
You know, Mike, you're gonna go nuts when I got, because I have similar stuff. I'm gonna leave it at that. My keys, like Mike said before, me and Mike don't talk about our keys prior to this, so it's weird when they line up so well.
Yep. And the third key that I had is to take Stafford out of the game. They've got to put pressure on him. They've got to make him throw into coverages. They can't sit back and let Stafford pick apart a soft zone, especially now that as I mentioned earlier, DeAndre Swift, their running back, is out for today from an illness, so he can't go today. So even more so, you have to force the defense has to force the Lions offense to run to beat them by taking the passing game out of Stafford's hands.
Yeah, and the guy I'm looking to have a bounce back game in that regard is Jalen Johnson. He had a rough. He had his first rookie game, I want to say, against Green Bay last week, and look, as consistent as he's been all year long, and with a guy like Kyle Fuller on the other side, I'm not worried about Jalen Johnson losing confidence. He hasn't lost confidence all year, even when he was getting beat. So, Jalen Johnson being a rookie, because they're going to target him, they're going to go after him, he needs to have an outstanding game in order to do exactly what you're saying right here.
I think for the most part, if I'm Detroit, I'm targeting the slot.
Yeah.
Buster Skrine absolutely had a terrible, it was abysmal performance against the Packers. So, you've got Johnson and I've got Skrine. So what are your keys?
Well, starting out, it kind of plays into that first one you had. The offensive line needs to be angry, but the thing is that they abandoned the run. And when you abandon the run, like they've done it so many times this year, they abandon the run because I don't know whether they get down or they just think that these plays that they dial up are going to be better than running the football in certain situations. But for me, you need that offensive line to start getting downhill. You need them to start running over people. You need to run the football. You had David Montgomery with 100 yards last week, and I understand it was knocked out over there. And I understand it was off of a one big run. But you got to think about it. When did they stop running the football? They stopped running the football in the second quarter. They never wanted to continue that. Even before it was the game was out of reach. I just think you need to continue. David Montgomery needs to be the focus. He needs to be the feature back. You cannot have this this gimmick where Cordero Patterson comes into the backfield in third downs, in fourth downs, 4th and 1s. Why isn't your running back in there? The guy that has played that position his entire life, the guy that got drafted to play that position, why isn't he in there? Things like that kind of blow my mind. But I need that offensive line, like you said. They look good, a patchwork offensive line. I need them to get nasty, and they get nasty by running downhill and getting into the face of the defensive linemen so they could make some holes for the running game. My second one is perfect with what you were saying with number 2. Dominate the Lions. Dominate the Lions that have been terrible. They need to feast on the pride. And when I say that, and I put pride in quotes, they need to feast on the pride as far as like the Lions go, and they need to go ahead and start feasting on the pride amongst for themselves. Because like you said last week, like we were talking all morning, last week was embarrassing. Last week was the worst football game we watched start to finish against the from the Bears against the Green Bay Packers. I don't know what happened. What was the difference? I don't know if they had other things on their mind as a team, or if they just laid down to Aaron Rodgers.
I don't know what the problem was, Ivan. I'm telling you, the Bears waited for Sunday to have their Thanksgiving feast, and they all were suffering from turkey coma.
Yeah,
that's what they played like.
It's exactly, they were sleepwalking. And for me, that's not the Bears defense. And I understand Matt Nagy came out and he started calling them out for having pride this week. And with that, excuse me, Coach, I'm sorry. I applaud you for going out there and having the balls to step up and say, hey, we need to fix this. But that should have been done after your second loss. After the Rams lost, was it the Saints? After you lost your second game in a row, you should have been on their ass because the writing was on the wall. Everybody in Chicago, everybody around the league knew where you were lacking, and that was on the offensive line. And even though you were scraping together wins, the glaring problem, it was there. It was always there, and you never wanted to correct it. There was never adjustments until I felt like it was too late. Like I said, he only gave up the play calling when his job was on the line. When he really thought his job was on the line, he only made adjustments to the offensive line after the fact that he gave up the play calling. He does things after the fact, and I'm talking about Coach Nagy. I need your defense to forget all this, to forget all the things, all that was said. Even though they did appreciate him stepping up and calling him out, you need to forget about all that and focus on this. It's week 1 again. If you truly believe that your team can make the playoffs, this is week 1, and it needs to be a dominating performance.
Absolutely. Hey, before we get to your key 3, I just want to give a shout out. Somebody who threw a comment up on Facebook, Millie from Kansas City, says, "Go Bears." Millie is a lifelong friend of mine. We went to high school together, so. Just wanted to say a special shout out to Millie. Love you for watching the show.
Oh yeah, Millie checks us out. Millie checks us out all the time. Thanks, Millie. So number 3, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong because it's going to lead into our picks. But prove me wrong. And me as well as you, Mike, we're Bears fans to the end. But I'm not going to sit here and lie to them. I'm not going to sit here and lie to the fan base. I'm not going to sit here and lie to my friends. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I'm telling the truth when I see the flaws of this team. When we talk about how this team is struggling, when we talk about those things are real. Prove me wrong when it comes as far as pride and want and will come because I just think this team is right now they're kind of just dead in the water. They're dead in the water. They have no go. Prove me wrong. Prove everybody wrong. Like, honestly, it's football. A little bit of this is motivation and wanting a will to go ahead and prove people wrong. You relish these moments. The team has an opportunity because they still have a good defense. They still can possibly figure out some way because there is hope with the running game to make the playoffs. But like I said, I'm also a realist. I'm not going to lie to you. It probably isn't going to be.
Well, let's hope. I disagree. If the Bears are going to do anything today, this is the day. This is our pick is in segment of the show, the last part of our show. And I just literally think that the Bears are going to fire on all cylinders and really take it to it. My biggest concern is this. Trubisky has always played very well against a Matt Patricia defense because he stays in man-to-man. And when Trubisky faces zone coverage, he gets confused. He misses his reads. So if Detroit has gone to school on that, hey, Vernon, I don't have any tequila in the house, but I do have some whiskey. Maybe I'll take you up on that shot.
We'll be drunk by halftime.
But I don't think this is the game that the Bears are going to fold. I think the Bears are going to come out pissed, and they're going to score, and they're going to score often. And I have them winning this game. And Ivan, I know you don't have them winning this game, so we're saving the worst for last. But I think the Bears are going to win this game, and they're going to win it convincingly. That's their best output of the year, best out since the probably since the Buffalo game in 2018 when they scored 41 points. I've got the Bears winning 41-13.
I hope, like I said, Mike, I hope I'm wrong. But, I just feel like I've seen this story before. I've seen this movie. I've seen this before where the Bears they're still there, there's still hope, and I still, like I said, in my heart, I still have hope. In my head, I'm like, don't be fooled again. Don't buy into this. They need help. They need to change everything. I'd rather the Band-Aid be ripped right off, and I think that starts with definitely with a loss, and it would start with a loss today. So I have the Lions beating the Bears 27-19. The Bears stay on average. They stay on par, 19 points. So I didn't have them doing any worse, but I don't have them doing any better. And I think that the offense for the Lions is going to find a way to score points.
Hey, to my pal Vernon, this Bears decanter is filled with Maker's Mark. So I tell you what I'm going to do for Vernon is I'm going to take my first shot of the day right here. So
there you go.
Well, what does Patty say? From your mouth to the football gods, I'll always have hope, but they need to have the fire under them in wanting this. Patty, you summed it up absolutely perfectly. This is the game. If they're going to do anything offensively to even hope, Vin should be allowed to hit Nagy. And okay, Vern. Hey, I
might get Vernon's suggestions today. Vernon's having great suggestions today.
Vernon, you're on fire, man. And trust me, Ivan, and I really appreciate you watching the show. This has been fun. Man, I hope I'm right.
I hope you're right.
I want to see one decent game. And here's where we run into a problem. We've got about 2 minutes left in our show. Here's where we run into a problem. If the Bears fire off on all cylinders and they develop a little confidence going into these last few games, we're going to end up 10-6, 9-7, and be in the middle of the pack for drafting, which is purgatory.
It's
So if they do that, and they either they're 9-7 and don't make the playoffs, 10-6 and don't make the playoffs, 10-6 and make the playoffs, it just is going to throw. They'll be in the bottom 14 in drafting if they make the playoffs. No matter what the record of the Eastern Division team is, if the NFC East team advances one game in the playoffs, they get a home game.
Yeah,
they get a freaking home game. They're going to win. The NFC East team is going to win with maybe 6 wins. How disgusting is that going to be?
It's going to be bad. I'll tell you the team that's going to do it. It's going to be the Washington football team.
Yeah,
I believe in Riverboat Ron, and I think he's gotten that franchise. He's the perfect. And I know this is a Bear show, but Ron Rivera is a Bear and a fan favorite. A favorite adopted son of Chicago.
He's been fun to watch his entire coaching career. Many Bears fans, many Bears players were pissed.
Yeah,
when he was let go.
Yeah,
the defensive coordinator for the Bears, and that started the demise of that defensive scheme.
It really did. That was the exact moment, and I hated it ever since. I love seeing him in the Super Bowl. I didn't hate his success. I didn't hate his success in Carolina. I hated that he was there. I hated that he was having the success there and not here with the Chicago Bears like he should have been.
So to finish my point, because I know we're running up against the clock right now. To finish my point, the Bears will end up in the drafting 18th, 19th, 20th in the draft, and that's just they're going to either have to settle for what they can get, or maybe start trading down to accumulate draft capital, or they're gonna waste draft capital to move up into the draft to try to fit a need. And every time that they have traded up to fit a need in the Pace regime, it hasn't worked out.
Mikey, I mean that's it. It hasn't worked out. Look, I'll finish with that. That's a statement that is going to be carried out for the Ryan Pace era. It just hasn't worked out.
Absolutely. That does it for today's Barely Pregame show. We've got the Lions coming up in exactly 61 minutes from kickoff. So enjoy the game. And, one of these days, maybe, you already do a post-game show. I forgot.
Mike, you're always welcome to hop on the post-game show. You just got to give me a heads up.
Send me a link.
I will.
All right, guys, bear down. We will see you Wednesday at 6:30 on the Halitech Hall Show.
Yeah, and stay tuned, guys. Me and Luke Nettles are going to be bringing more pregame with the Basic Monsters Game Day podcast. We'll be talking about the Titans, Browns, Bears, and the Lions. And then our last game was the Cardinals and the Rams. So we'll be covering all that today. Coming up right after this. So we'll see y'all later.
Bear down, everybody.
Bear down.
I just heard my favorite band is in town. I'd love to get good seats, but everywhere I've looked, the ticket sites have crazy service fees.
Haven't you heard of TixSplits?
Who?
TixSplits. They don't gouge you with crazy fees. The price they advertise is the price you pay, plus a small delivery fee.
Never pay service fees again. Go to TixBlitz.com today. TixSplits.com. Guaranteed seats, low prices. That's TixSplits.com. Every ticket, every venue, everywhere.